or at least being very, very stable. Do you feel that this is a nice bit of base that we formed and now we are ready to build higher?
Good morning, Namrata, and good morning, Prashant. Sorry, I'll just take I'll go slightly off course before I answer your question. First of all, apologies for coming late this morning. I was stuck on the way because our Honorable President has come to Mumbai, and I took multiple modes of transport. Normally, I just come by taxi. I walked half the way and managed to get a taxi just in time. Now the question is, if the leaders of our country do not think about the loss of productivity because of their normal day-to-day transport, then I think we are in big trouble. Just to think about, yesterday the president was in Mumbai. Today the president is in Mumbai, and people just can't commute. The roads have been cleared. You can't walk. You can't drive. I think we need to think about, day in, day out, you and Prashant and a lot of other people in different channels talk about the economy of our country. You appraise our countrymen, citizens of this country, what's going on. What I appeal to you, what I suggest and I request, that you should start building up some kind of metrics which takes into account the uneconomic part of our economy. The uneconomic sections, which is the biggest drag on our economy, because if we were to start addressing that, our economic growth can maybe double. Now when I say that, I mean just one bit that I've identified, and probably you can build on that, is talk about the corporators which represent the municipal corporations, talk about the MLAs, then MPs, the funds, the public funds that they use to spend on our country's so-called development. It should be available on the public domain, so that anybody can have access to this information and question, and this will give rise to the accountability of our politicians. So that's a very important aspect from the economic perspective, which I request that you can at least build some kind of metric system and say how productive our economy is. And just another example would be, the freight costs, say between Delhi and Mumbai. A truck goes and carries some goods and it's delivered. Now officially we know what the freight cost is. Now we should also look at what are the unofficial costs attached to it. On the way, the trucker pays so much money at various checkpoints to the various government agencies involved. So what is the real cost of transportation? I mean, you can think about it, because if this cost were to come down, so it can have impact on the inflation too. For example, the vegetables that we end up buying every day for our household needs, the prices can drop. I mean, it's a whole chain of events. It's just an example. And the last week we saw the jobs data came out, that the country lost about 500,000 jobs, and now that is the official statistics. Now, if you were to look unofficially, there are a lot of sections of our economy where there is no official recording of the data. Now, talk about small sectors, be it household, where people, for example, the weavers, the silk industry. Now, this employs hundreds and thousands of people. People have lost their jobs because there's zero export orders. Now, that is not recorded. And my estimate is the job data number could be 3 times as big as what it is said now. Now, having said that, what does a country have? I mean, what do these people do when you lose the job?
Right.
Tomorrow I can lose my job. What do I do?
Right.
Is there any social security in the country that takes care of that?
Right. Sandeep, sorry for the interruption. Very valid points you make there, and we certainly appreciate that. If I could just steer your thoughts towards a couple of data points, of course, which are lined up over the next couple of days. There is an important policy event in the form of the voting account next Monday. Today there is a GDP estimate coming out. Just comment, if you will, from a market perspective, how crucial are these events?
I think it's a non-event because whether the data is, because everybody is very pessimistic on the street. If the data is poor, I think this markets will just shrug it off, because GDP, we all know that the inflation numbers are supposed to come down because of the higher base rate, drop in fuel prices. GDP is slowing down. There's no Second thoughts to it. In November when we last spoke, our projection for the GDP was about 5%, when the street and the IMF and the finance ministry was talking about 7.5% to 7.9%. Now, we would like to revise our estimate. I think we are heading towards like probably 4.5 levels in the next 6 months. As you mentioned, the inflation data that has come out today, that government has started printing about 68,000 crores because they need about 1 lakh crore. So that now this money supply stimulus that is coming in, that may result in higher inflation, that will result in weakening of the rupee, that will further spur inflation. So as elections come in, we need to be prepared for the worst set of numbers or very populist measures that the government will adopt. Now, having said that, what we have seen lately, that the markets have been very resilient. The quarterly numbers are out. Most of the bad news is already priced in. The next set of numbers will be there in April. Between now and April, we have the interim budget, some new slew of announcements from the government. Probably it may be positive for the markets, I don't know, but I think there may be some tax cuts because they need to appease the taxpayers. So far it has always been done to the likes of the farmers and the people who are not directly paying the taxes. So I think we can see a short-term rally being built from here. Most of the bad news is priced in, but having said that, I'm not saying I'm a long-term bullish. But yes, short to mid-term, from a 1 to 2 month perspective, I expect markets to go higher.
All right, Sandeep Bharadwaj, we'll leave it at that, but we'll keep in account all those valid suggestions that you made and hopefully get you on a discussion in more detail very soon. Running tight on time, we have to take a break right now.